Hello, happy Wednesday. It's towards the end of the day. I'm here out in Colorado, just south of Denver. And I thought I'd come on and do a little update while I was out here before the sun went down. You can watch it in the background. There's a lot of color here. Some of it's past peak. This is a park near where I'm staying that I've been coming to. There's a bit of a wind, so I apologize if there's any noise on the mic. Anyways, I thought I would talk about our big full moon tomorrow and just sort of some reflection points about it. So it's today the 16th of October. The full moon, the actual full moon, is going to be tomorrow, the 17th, at about 7:30 a.m., just before that Eastern time. And this particular full moon will be at 24 degrees Aries. Aries is not just a cardinal sign, it's the first sign of the zodiac. It's like, when we think about, an idea, the spark of fire of ideas that come to us, that's Aries in a lot of ways. So we've been having our last round of eclipses in Aries since 2023. We'll be finishing it up, pretty much now, through the beginning of next year. We will be completing our eclipses, but we just had a round of eclipses in Pisces and then one in Libra. And then in some ways this full moon kind of is like another eclipse in the sense that it's going off right near the North Node where the eclipse, would be going off. So it's kind of like the full moon is sort of this ending aspect to this period that we're in, this time of change and illumination, things coming to light. And that's really in particular with this full moon because it's so when you have a full moon, the sun is in the opposing sign. So the sun right now is in Libra. It opposes Aries. So Libra tends to deal with relationship, the other, whereas Aries deals with the self. So when we have a full moon, a lot of times something could be coming to light in the area of relationships or in our identity and self, which could impact our relationships. It usually does when we have identity, shifts and changes. So when we have a full moon in Aries, it means there's already something opposing it, the sun in Libra. But then there are two planets that are also squaring the full moon. And that is Pluto at 29 degrees Capricorn, which of course we keep talking about that planet. And then we currently have Mars in Cancer. So those are all the cardinal signs. So Cancer, Libra, Aries, and Capricorn. And so this is what you would call a grand cardinal square. So it's where there are two oppositions happening. So the full moon is one set of oppositions, and the Mars-Pluto is the second set of oppositions. I also want to just note that this full moon, where it is at 24 degrees Aries. It's sitting right next to where Chiron is. Chiron is the wounded healer. So we'll come back to that. But there was an eclipse we had in April of this year, April 8th, that went off at 19 degrees Aries. So very close to here. So again, this area of our chart has been getting lit up for many reasons. But Chiron has been sitting there this whole time. So it's to say that these eclipses are initiating changes that are allowing us to finally heal. It feels like some of this is ancestral healing because of the involvement of Pluto and Mars, that opposition. Pluto can deal with our deep, needs, things that are buried below the surface, our past, our ancestors. And Mars is about taking action, but it can also mean war and trauma and anger. And so, when that is sort of squaring this, it sort of feels like this is an opportunity with this full moon for us to allow ourselves to heal. That's part of the Pluto aspect, that's having that Chiron aspect sitting on top of the moon there in Aries. So I just thought I would note that we've just had this repetitive energy going on there for a year and a half, and this is the culmination of that. And then it's knowing that it is involving this planet that is about to go through a major change in, this November, mid-November. The other thing that's interesting about this Mars-Pluto square is that we're going to have Mars retrograding later this year, as we move towards the end of the year. So it's getting closer as it moves to Cancer 29 degrees. It's not there yet. I don't know the exact degree it's opposing. So it's probably in the early 20s, but it's eventually going to, in November, make a perfect opposition in the first week of November with Pluto. And then it will retrograde and come back to this point where it will oppose Pluto again. So there is something else that is really like action around healing that wants to take place that has to do with this movement of Pluto right now, going from Capricorn into Aquarius. So this feels to me very much for those of us that have been having a very personal experience with Pluto over the last 16 years. Those of us with strong cardinal or Capricorn in particular placements, we've been dealing with it very more directly. I'm a Capricorn rising. So this, I can just feel there's just this very strong energy of look, time's up. Should or get off the pot, so when you've got this Aries energy, it's a lot about let's go, let's move. So I just wanted to point that out because it could feel a bit irritating and contentious, because when we've got not only two oppositions going on, and we have these squares going on between all these planets, so the sun and the moon squaring Mars and Pluto. And squares are about growth and movement. And that's why it creates tension, so that we do that and we allow that. So I just thought I'd come on and kind of encourage that behavior. I feel that every step along the way to these bigger sort of transitions, the ironic thing is, yes, we'll be talking about Pluto for the next 5 weeks, especially through eclipse season. But it's all these little things that are happening along the way that I feel like preparing us. And it doesn't feel good. Change never has felt good to humans. Humans would prefer to have such consistency and lack of challenge in their life in a lot of ways. But the truth is that life is very dull and uninteresting and quite boring when we don't engage with it. So this is really, I kind of look at our astrological predicaments to be like a game strategy to help prep. I've been out here, and some of the people I'm visiting, their daughter talks a lot about scavenger hunts. She's already had me on a couple scavenger hunts, and I feel like that's kind of what this astrology is trying to get us to do, is sort of hunt for our own inner needs. So I've been looking at that for myself. There's been a lot of major reality checks in my life in the last few weeks, particularly in the last month. A lot to process, but also kind of a beautiful time. And I think that's the thing that I'm really understanding about life, is that we really see beauty in some of the hardest moments that we experience here, with each other. And that's the beauty of human kindness, or the gratitude for a day like today, like for me to get to be out here near a really good friend's family, and then get to take care of these sweet animals in this really beautiful environment. Just, I don't know. For me, it's part of why I've committed to traveling and moving more around and not getting too settled right now at this point in my life, because there's a lot of growth that is available to me if I don't get too settled. And so that's the big message I've been trying to impart on other people, because it can be very easy for humans to get into their rigid routines. And, we just came out of Virgo season just towards the end of summer, and that's a lot about creating routines because it helps us with our rhythm. But everything's a balance, and that's what Libra season right now that we find ourselves in is about, is remembering that, look, we can't organize our life to the point of perfect efficiency, or that to-do list is ever going to be done. No, it's sort of like accepting what the human experience really is, which is it's an endless to-do list, because we're in a game. So I feel for people who, when they, and myself included, when I can get stuck in my rigid ways, and then that prevents me from getting to engage with some really interesting and stimulating aspects of life. And that's part of what's going on around me right now. A lot of the elders in my life and otherwise are, they're aging. And so there's this conversation of at what point are certain things therapeutic and supportive, and, in other ways are certain things slowing down something that someone wants to have speed up, in the case of their health, or their life. So these are very difficult things to navigate. It requires a lot of discernment. But what I do know for sure is that, we are sparks. We're sparks of fire and electricity. And we need engagement with each other. We need, to be very balanced in our approach to engaging with this world around us. I mean, look at this right now. I'm outside. Look how gorgeous this moment is out here. But I could just as easily be like looking at something. I've been taking a nice rest from social media this week compared to, what I normally am on doing. And it's been delightful to just take a pause from that kind of stimulation and instead have this kind of stimulation and conversations with friends. Many of my friends and loved ones and clients are going through a lot of different major things right now. So with that said, I'm sending you full moon blessings. Full moons are a really wonderful time to allow yourself to release old patterns that are no longer serving you. I would think of this full moon as sort of like a wounded full moon, And you're going to probably get triggered, and if you're not already, haven't been triggered already. Those of us that have cardinal placements, we started feeling this full moon probably a couple days ago. And it's fiery, it's a lot of fiery energy when we're talking about Aries, and sort of competitive and aggressive energy sometimes with Aries. So we want to temper that with like beauty and getting out and adventuring and moving our body, as Mars would like it. And that's the other thing I wanted to just point out is that Mars, is in a strong aspect to this full moon, and it is the ruler of this full moon since it's in Aries. So it just feels like there's something very deliberate, and it's going to be kind of in our face and really pushing us to take action on. So I wish you some courage and assertiveness in that, whatever that is hitting in your, in your life. Like I said, if you want, kind of reflect back to the springtime in April, early April, what might have been going on at that time. It was an eclipse, so it might not have been a time either that I would have encouraged necessarily setting intentions because the energy is rather unstable during eclipses, but as it is right now. But certain themes may have come up around then and maybe have been coming up around the eclipses that are meant to continue to be looked at right now as we're closing out the eclipse sort of portal, until next year. So just know this is not going to be the easiest, last quarter of a year. Mars retrogrades, which are coming, is not easy. And early in, the first half of next year, we'll also have a Venus retrograde in addition to all our wonderful Mercury retrogrades and outer planet retrogrades. So, just know that there's a season and a time for everything. And we are in the fall, and this is the time where we're going to be dealing with grief and sadness and a lot of letting go. And you don't want to carry any burdens into a winter. You want to think of yourself as needing or requiring the least amount of resources as possible as we head into winter. You want to kind of strip things down so that you can tend to your essence and prepare yourself for next season, next Aries season, next spring, which is 6 months from now. Okay, sending you all lots of love. Happy full moon. I will hopefully be back on here within a week. Mwah.